Hey guys, what's up? We're back with another video. I mean, this may be in the middle of a video, who knows, but it is feeding time over here. This is last week's crop from what we weaned. Some of them are already, you know, a big small, or a small medium. And anyway, we're gonna feed those guys off, but I have something much more exciting. She's super disturbed by the rodents. I'm just trying to get her over here. Oh, and this is it. Christina got me a vacuum for the reptile room. So all the little sandy chips and cocoa blocks and whatever, this is gonna handle it. Just kidding, that's really exciting, but it's not the thing that I was gonna show you guys. This is it right here. I knew that a couple snakes might be fixing to lay before we leave town. And oh my god, this one did. God, I can't even think straight. So it's a sulfur bee het axanthic bred to an axanthic enchi. So we could be looking at the axanthic version of this right here, this beautiful girl with enchi in it. It's ridiculous. Half of the babies are going to be axanthic. This is the VPI line. And shall we do this together? So shall we see how many eggs she's holding on to? Oh wow, it looks like a great clutch. Don't tag me, mama. Wow, nice, sweet. They're all good eggs. She's a small girl, you can see. Not a big girl. But 5 perfect eggs. Oh, but look at those eggs. Those are nice. Okay, so we'll show you guys how to set these guys up. I don't rip my eggs apart. I've made that mistake before. But the most important thing when you pull a clutch from your ball python is to take her out and to wash her with soap and make sure that that scent of the eggs is not on her, because if it is, she's gonna think, oh, I'm sitting here on my eggs. I'm not gonna eat, I'm not gonna do anything, I'm just gonna sit here, and then your female can get really, really thin. But if you can wash her off with soap and also break down her entire enclosure, sanitize it, make sure that it doesn't smell at all, then you can get her back on food and she can produce year after year. So that is step 1. So let's make that happen, and 5 good eggs in the bank. Okay, so we're back. We've got the eggs here. All 5 nice little pearlies, right? Ready to go. We've got the vermiculite mixture. We talked about that in the last clip, about the ratio. And you want it to be nice and moist so that it clumps up, but you don't want it to be dripping any water out. That is the wrong thing to do, because they will get too moist and they'll mold. So basically all you're trying to do is keep the relative humidity at, 90 plus 100%. Something like that. So here we go. A lot of people will take their eggs and they'll rip them apart. So you could rip these guys apart and then candle them. I'll show you what that looks like, and set them however they have their veins set. So you can see this little network of veins right in here. Can you see those? There are veins going out to here, and the middle of the embryo is right there. It's hard to see in this light, but there's a little, you can see the half circle right there, right? Yeah. This one, you can't really see that because it was probably laid a little bit differently, but I go with the saying, how they're laid, they stay. There's the middle of that embryo. It doesn't have a big air bubble yet. You can see some veins in that one, and then this one's probably gonna be a little bit hard. Yeah, you can see them up here. So, last year, yeah, it was last year, I was watching all these other YouTubers who were finding their clutches, and they were ripping all their eggs apart, and then they were candling them and then orienting them to wherever the top of the vein structure was and that air bubble of the embryo. And when I did that, no, this was 2 years ago actually. When I did that, I realized too much time had passed since they had been laid. The eggs were too dry, and when I did that, I damaged the outside enough that mold came and they succumbed to that mold, and it really sucked because it was my first purple passion clutch, and it was a real bummer. So for me, in this dry climate where, you know, sometimes your eggs are already going to be dimpling up like this, a lot of the people you see on YouTube in more humid locales aren't going to have this happening this early, but it's really dry here, so you got to remember that.
Is that different from clubrids?
No, it's not.
Do you keep your clutches together in clubrids, or do you keep them separate?
No, you're okay.
That's what I mean.
I don't separate my clubrid eggs either, unless, and I think we've talked about this in other videos a little bit, if there are eggs starting to go bad. Actually, I know I have a video of removing a bad egg from a clutch, but if they're just laying just fine and there might be a slug that's really stuck on the outside, I actually wait a little bit for that albumen inside to solidify, dry up a little bit, not quite to the point of molding, and then I'll cut it off, because if you do it too early, you're going to slit that bad egg open and that albumen's going to get all over the outside of these eggs, and you got to remember these guys are porous and they have to breathe, and which leads me into my next thing.
What's an albumen?
Albumen is just egg whites, basically. So that's what leads me into this next conversation. I just said that the eggs need to breathe, but I'm going to do something completely against that thought process, and I'm going to put press and seal on these guys. And for some reason, I don't know why, if you guys know, comment down below. I would actually love to know why ball python eggs are okay without any air exchange for 60 days and colubrid eggs are not. I don't know. The reason that I know colubrid eggs aren't okay in this incubation method is because last year I had a lot of forward flies I have little ventilation holes right here in the colubrid egg incubation containers, and when I had those, so the little flies would fly in and they would eat bad eggs or whatever and lay their own eggs and start to infest the damn thing. And when that would happen, I just closed them all up with tape, and I said, well, you know, if ball python eggs can survive this way, great. And I knew colubrid eggs aren't going to be quite as easy to maintain that way, so I was venting them, you know, every couple days, and I did the best that I could, but I still lost quite a few eggs that way. So for whatever reason, python eggs do better this way. Colubrid eggs, I would not recommend press and seal in any way, shape, or form.
And do you do a certain depth into your material here?
Substrate?
Yeah, your substrate.
No, I just kind of lay them in where I know that they're going to get a little bit of humidity from this vermiculite, but I don't bury them completely. And sometimes if one egg starts to really get dry, then I'll pile up the vermiculite on one side, or if it's really bad, then I'll get some moist sphagnum moss and I'll put it right on that egg, that type of thing. But honestly, with ball python eggs, I've not had a lot of issues. They're pretty easy.
So the vermiculite acts as if it were a parent, and the
exactly.
Mom of the egg, and it's just kind of sheltering it.
Yeah, cradling the eggs, keeping them nice and warm and humid like they should. Ball pythons do maternally incubate their eggs in the wild, but in captivity, your hatch rates are going to be much lower if you try to replicate those conditions. And the female is going to sit on those eggs for 2 to 3, maybe even more months, not eating, because she's only worried about staying on that clutch. I think they'll leave to drink water every once in a while, but I don't know if that's always true. And they're not going to breed for another year or 2 because they're going to be so emaciated by the time these eggs hatch. So the idea in captivity is to take the eggs, get them out of there, bathe the female. I've just had her soaking while we've been doing this, and then I'm going to show you guys how I wash her off with soap. Get this container this little bin she's been living in, all ready to go, and then we'll set the incubator. And guess what? We got one more clutch since we've been filming this video. Okay, real quick, here's the pairing. This is the VPI axanthic with enchi male, and this is the sulfur B, so sulfur, aka yellow belly, pastel, and spider het for axanthic. So what we're going for here is snakes that are a little more cooperative. Just kidding. This color, not this color, this pattern with this color palette. And I think it's gonna be pretty damn sick. Plus there's the enchi that we can add to this. So it's gonna be awesome. So let's wash her off and get it. Okay, so this is what you do when your ball python lays eggs. You find a nice comfortable temperature. If you use your temp gun, you can make sure that you're giving your snakes the exact same temperature that they're at. And then you literally just use some dish soap and you wash that puppy all the way off. And you're not gonna like it, but that's gonna wash all that egg scent off so that they're not thinking that they're supposed to be incubating this clutch for the next, 2-3 months. Get that out of there. And you want to be really nice and thorough. Also gives you a good opportunity to see how your animal is doing. Make sure that there are no eggs stuck, anything like that. So all the way up to their head. And then rinse them off really well. And then you want to put them back in an enclosure that has been completely sanitized and is devoid of that egg smell. And honestly, I would recommend washing the slots, in your rack as well, so that egg smell isn't anywhere around for them to be smelling. So that's how you do it, and pop her back in and get her back on food. Okay, and the last step is to set your incubator to anywhere between 88 and 90 degrees. Some people incubate at 92 degrees, and with this Helix thermostat, you can just hold it down and it'll start counting up from 80. And I'm gonna put mine at 89. Leave it there. And all 3 of these incubators will be at that temperature. I'm gonna take these 5 good eggs we just got, put on a lid. I'm gonna write an identification card for the clutch. It's gonna chill out there for 2 months, and we'll be either watching that clutch hatch or cutting it in 2 months. So, see you then.